In this video, we're going to go over exactly how to get set up in Google Ads step by step. So into my computer, let's get started. First thing you're going to do is you're going to type in ads.google.com. This is going to take you to this home page here. Hit start now. You can hit this one or this one up here in the corner. And then we're going to go create account. If you have an account, then you can skip this step. But for now, I'm going to show you everything. So we're going to go create an account and we're going to say whether it's personal use for my child or for work. So it's probably going to be personal use or work. I'm not sure why it'd be for your child in this case. So you're just going to type in your name here. Then you're going to type in your birth date and gender. Hit next. Then we're going to type in our email address that we want to link to this account. You can also say get a Gmail address here. So if you don't have an email that you want to link to this, you can also just use get a Gmail address and you can get a new email. So I'm going to hit get a Gmail address because all of my emails usually have linked Google Ads accounts. And we're going to take one that they suggested here. Continue through the process here, adding a recovery email. You're going to have to accept the terms. This is if you're creating an email, otherwise you can skip past this part. So what I'm going to suggest here is instead of going through and hitting this big button here and saying create your first account, we're going to go and say skip creation. We're now going to fill out our banking information, our currency. We're going to go here. You can select the country you're in. You're going to go down to time zone, make sure your time zone's correct. Your currency, make sure that's correct. Want to personalize campaign guidance from Google Ads Expert by phone. You can say yes or no to this. I'm going to say no, but you can always say yes if you want to have help from Google Ads. Get tips and promotions. So I'm going to say no on this as well, but you can say yes if you want to get those emails. I'm going to hit submit. Now it's saying we're all set. We're going to continue to our account. And this is the account here. So we are now in our Google Ads account. This is a brand new account I just created with you guys. So yours should look exactly the same. If Google's changed it a little bit, it should look pretty close to this. So this is the basics of Google Ads. So I'm going to go over a few things and just kind of get you familiar with what we have happening here. That way we can build our first campaign. So first off, we have campaigns over here. This is where we're going to store our ads. We also have goals down here. We're not going to spend too much time in here, but there's things like conversions, which are essentially ways to track your sales. So we can always look at that later. There's measurement. We're not even going to worry about explaining that one. It's stuff you don't really need to worry about right now. So that's goals. And then we have tools down here. There are going to be a few tools that are important to look over. Keyword Planner is one that I tend to use on occasion, but when we're getting started here, you're probably not going to need any of these tools. Billing, that's going to be one that you're going to want to fix up. So billing, you're going to have to go in here. You're going to be able to create a new payment profile here. So you click new payment profile and it's going to give you some options down here. You're going to go through them. This one here, this top one is very important if it's one that you can't change after the fact. So make sure you get this one right. Otherwise you have to reach out to Google and it could be weeks for them to get back to you before you can get it changed back. It's a real pain. You can change it from organization to individual or individual to organization. So if you have a business, a corporation, or any other registered company, then you're probably going to want organization. But if this is just a sole proprietorship or it's personal use, then have it as individual. But make sure you select the right one here because if you need to verify your business later with Google, you have to have the right one selected. Otherwise, you can't verify your business. So just make sure that you pick the right one here and then go through the rest, add your name, your address, and all that information. This is just going to be for Google Ads payment. So make sure it's accurate and it matches the billing information that you're going to provide them. So that's going to be needed before you actually go ahead and run your ads. Then we have admin over here. This is going to be your account settings, account access. So this, if you have to give access to someone, this is where you're going to find it under admin. So once you've finished updating your billing, the first thing we want to do after that is we want to go and create a new campaign. So make sure you do your billing first, then let's start and build our campaign. So we're going here, new campaign. Now that we're in here, we have different options. We have sales, we have leads, website traffic, app promotion, awareness, consideration. A lot of people say to go create campaign without goals. I don't find it makes a big difference. We can probably select the one that we want to use. So in this case, I will select campaign, but if you have a specific goal and say it's leads that you want to get, then I would suggest let's start with leads. If you're looking to get sales, then let's start with sales. If you're looking to just get more website traffic, which probably isn't the goal if you're doing this starting out, But I'm going to start here with create a campaign without goals for guidance. What we're going to be focusing on today is going to be search ads. This is going to be the one that's going to help the majority of people right now. If you have products and you're trying to get shopping ads set up, I do have another video, but it's a little more technical, and that could be another option for you. Products can also be used in search as well. So this is going to cover majority of people. So that's where we're going to focus on search. Come down here and we can select the result we want from the campaign. So do we want website visits? Do we want phone calls? Or do we want app downloads? So I'm suspecting that most people are going to be website visits and or phone calls. So if you want, you can have both of these on here. If you want to get calls from your website, which is probably important for majority of people. Otherwise, you're just going to be checking off website visits. So I'm going to select website visits only for now because this is just a test site and I don't want to get phone calls for it. I'm actually not going to run these ads after I'm done setting this up. I'm going to remove the ads after. But this is my website right here. I have this beautiful furnace website. If you watch my other video, you'll see that I was kind of focusing on a furnace theme. So I'm continuing that. I'm going to grab my URL, which is this up here. Mine's site.google/focus your ads, but yours might just be your website. So it could be just northendfurnaces.com, something like that. And mine's just because I'm using a free website builder to do it. So I'm going to put that in here, paste that in. Just make sure it's your main URL that you're using in here for now. And we'll fix this as we go. Next, we're going to come down here and choose our goals that we want to focus on. So you can go through these goals. There's purchase, form submissions from your ads, form submissions from your website. I would suspect majority of people are either going to be in this category here, form submissions from your website, or you're going to be looking at purchase, which is going to be an actual purchase from your website. Probably more e-commerce businesses are going to go down that route. So if you say see more, there's a lot more options. There's contact pages, all kinds of stuff. And we're not going to get into that too far. Majority of people, this one's going to be the one you're going to want, form submissions from your website. And we're going to check that off and we're going to continue down here. I'm going to name our website and I'm going to name our campaign, not our website. And let's just call this, I like to name these a certain way. So let's call this search because I want to know it's a search campaign. And I'm going to call this one, for now, I'm just going to call it general. So you can name it whatever you want. This is for your own knowledge. So when we create multiple campaigns, you would understand what is in that campaign. For now, since we're just starting out, any name is going to be just fine for you. I'm going to turn this off, enhance conversions, but you can leave it on. But it's all about setting up your sales tracking. And that's a whole different video, and we won't get into that right now. And the reason is because we're going to be going after certain keywords and getting the certain type of traffic. And if you get good enough quality traffic, it's going to help your business whether you're tracking conversions or not. If you're tracking conversions, even better. And I can show you that in another video, how to set that up. Let's go continue. Now here we get to select how we're going to let Google do the bidding for us. Now you can see that there's no option for manual bidding is what I normally like to start out with. It's not even an option in here because Google likes to push you to automated bidding. Majority of people probably are going to be fine with clicks. I would start out with clicks because you're going to get the most amount of clicks possible for your business. And that's where I would start with if I was starting a brand new campaign. And I'll show you also how to get into manual bidding, but we'll have to create the campaign first, and I'll show you that. We can also set a maximum per click bid that we want. So if you want to go with maximum clicks, this is called maximize clicks is what's going to come up here, and it's going to get as many clicks as possible. If you don't want to spend over a certain price, so every click that happens is going to have a certain price. If you don't want to spend more than, let's say, $10 on a click, then you can set a maximum CPC bid limit on that. Just be careful that you don't set it too low. Say, for example, 50 cents, and maybe the clicks actually cost at least $1, $2, so you'll get no clicks at all. I'm going to leave this off, and I would suggest if you're not too worried about it, just leave it off for now. You're going to let Google get its data. It's going to get clicks usually within a certain range for you. Hit next. This is going to be an important setting for you. This is a search network. So this means that you're going to show up on other areas that aren't Google. So you're going to show up on Google Ads no matter what. But if you have this checked on like this, you're also going to show up on different partner sites. So this could be different websites that are linked to Google Ads. They're different search engines that you probably haven't even heard of. When I'm starting out, I usually turn this off. If I want to get more traffic, this might be something I turn back on. But for now, let's turn it off. Display network is a network that allows you to show up on other websites in these, and it's a different type of ad. It's not even a search ad. But Google gives you the option to actually show a search ad inside other websites. And it's not something I like to have on unless I'm trying to get as much traffic as possible out of my website, out of my ads. I would turn this off for now when you're starting out, and you can always turn this back on later on. And as you can see, Google wants you to turn this on, but let's leave it off for now because you're going to get the best quality traffic if you're just focusing on Google search. And that's what this allows us to do. If we start clicking these boxes, we're no longer focusing just on Google search. Countries, this is going to be a very important one. And there's some hidden problems that can come up from this area here. So first, we're going to select the country we want to select. I'm going to start with enter another location instead of, you might see United States here. I see Canada because I'm from Canada. But if you see a different, you see your country, you can select it there. But I'm going to select this one here, enter another location, because I don't want to necessarily select Canada. I want to select a location here. So let's say we want to add Chicago. We can come in here and we can say, okay, we want to target Chicago. I'm going to show you some other tricks that we can actually narrow down our focus. So for now, if you're a physical store and you want to get a certain area of traffic, so you want to get maybe 10 miles around your actual address, I'll show you that in a second how we can do that. For now, just pick the town that you're in and select that. We can fix this later. And then location, this is an important one here as well. Location options. Instead of selecting presence we're interested in, we're going to select presence. And as you can see, this is people in or regularly in your target location. The other one, presence we're interested in, means that people regularly in, or who've shown an interest in your target location. So this could be people from outside the country that have now typed in, let's say we're doing Chicago here. So let's say they're doing furnace repair in Chicago, but that person could be from another country. They could be from another state, but they've typed in Chicago. So now they're going to show up. There is a reason for this. But for the majority of people, to get the tightest focus when we first start, let's do presence, people in or regularly in. And if you want to get more traffic, this is an option that you can eventually experiment with and get more traffic. Audience segments. We're not going to be worrying too much about audience segments at this point. So this one here, broad match, we're leaving that off. If you have the option to turn it on, leave it off for now. Now, I don't think there's anything that we need to worry about here in our more settings area. So let's leave everything here the same. The only one I'll point out is ad schedule. So if you want to have a different schedule, you could add this in here. So say if you only want to show up Monday to Friday and then you could pick a time, let's say from 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you could select a time. So if you're only open certain hours and maybe that's all you want to show up for, you could now select that. So we could have from 8 o'clock to 6:45. You can also do this different days of the week. So you could have a Monday and it could be this, then you could add a Tuesday in here, and you continue to do this, and we could have different ones. If you don't want any of that, you just check off that X and now it goes back to normal, and it is all days, 100% of the time, you'll be showing this ad. We can now go next. And this is where we get to start creating our ads. So let's leave that. This is called an ad group. And this is like a bucket that we get to store our keywords and our ad copy. People are searching for this online. They're finding your website. You're using a keyword, and that is directing them to your website. They're searching something. Your keyword is telling Google that this is the kind of search I want to show up for. And then they see your ad copy for that. They click into your website. And the goal is to have all that kind of line up properly. So if they're searching for furnace repair, your ad copy talks about furnace repair, and they go to your website, which talks about furnace repair. That's the goal. So they give you a lot of suggestions here because they've scanned my website now. And these are all the suggestions for keywords. I'm going to take all these keywords here. I might look through them. And this is probably a good idea to look through these at least, grab them, and maybe put them into a document somewhere else, like a Google document. So you could grab a Google document and paste these in. So for now, I'm going to take all these, except for I'd like furnace repair. I think that's the only one I want to keep right now. So let's go like this. And what I'm going to do to start, I want you to also do this, is to start with what's called phrase match. And you can see the difference down here. Broad match, phrase match, exact match. We're going to start in the middle. This is because this is what controls how varied Google's going to be when it comes to your search term. So if I type in here, I'm going to do it as phrase match, and let's go furnace repair near me. Probably a good term. Now Google's going to be looking at this, and having these quotes around it like this is going to allow Google to say, okay, this is the search keyword we're willing to show up on. Now they're going to interpret that and say, okay, well, this is pretty close. Like furnace repair Chicago is actually pretty close to that. So we're going to let them show up for that. There could be something like, how do I repair my own furnace? And that might be too broad. So in this case, it might prevent that. But if I had taken these off and made it what's called a broad match, how to repair a furnace might fit into that. But if I had these brackets on it like this, that's exact match. And now the only thing that's probably going to show up is furnace repair near me. It might show up for furnace repair Chicago. It's going to be pretty tight. It's like the dial. Do you want it to be exactly what you're typing in or similar to what you're typing in? So I do have another video that goes over the basics of Google Ads, and it does talk about match types. So if you want to check that one out, it'll go into at least the basics of this, but there's a lot to it when it comes to match types. But for now, let's stick with our phrase match. Now this is where we get into the creative part of Google Ads. This is what's called the final URL. This is where people are going to go when they click on your ad. They've searched for furnace repair near me, and they now get shown your ad because they're in your location. They search for that term, and now they're going to show up. So now they're going to come here, and I'll copy this out, and this would lead us to this exact website right here. They're going to end up on North End Furnaces. And this is where you're going to want to make sure that the website you want to show up for is here. Now, it doesn't have to be the home page. It could be a contact page. It could be different parts of your website. Maybe there's a certain product or a certain kind of service that you want to showcase, and you could have them go directly to that website. But in this case, in the majority of cases, you're probably going to put your home page here. So we can add some stuff to make it look a little nicer. So after your website, say if it was, say if we had a little smaller of a URL. So like focusyourads.com, which is my URL for my business. I'm not doing that we're obviously doing a fake business here, but my real business is focusyourads.com. If we wanted to have something here, in that case, maybe I would be ads expert or something like that. In this case, we're talking about furnaces. So I might put furnace repair, and we could have something else over here, but this is going to just show up after your URL. You can see it right here, furnace repair, and see there's our website, and there's furnace repair. Down here, we're going to have to add in at least 3 headlines, you can see here, and we're going to have to add in at least 2 descriptions. You're going to want to add something that calls out to your website, like for example, North End Furnaces is probably a good one to start with. I'll also mention that these headlines are interchangeable, so they're not going to show up in this order necessarily. They're going to show up, Google's going to mismatch these depending on what the person is searching and their data that they have in the background to try to make sure that the right message is going to the right person. There's a lot that happens in the background, and this is what we call a responsive ad. It's the only type of search ad that we can use now. We used to have a different type that we could control this more, but now we can't. So let's add a few headlines in here. So furnace, let's type in furnace. Oops, if I could spell a furnace repair Chicago. And let's go, maybe we could have emergency service available. So we might have emergency services available to, if it happens in the middle of the night, or maybe it happens on a weekend, we can respond quickly, which makes me think quick response time. So you're going to want to think about your business and try to find anything that makes sense for you. If there's something that you really want to show and you want to say, Google, I want to show this no matter what, you can pin things like this. You can select this pin over here, and we can say we want to pin it to the first position, which is going to be, you can see these blue lines here. It's the first position. If we want to pin it to the second position, we can do that, or the third position. There's going to be 3 potential spots. and Google's going to mismatch them unless you pin them. I don't recommend pinning them unless you really are stuck on having something show up every time. So if you have to have emergency services available and it has to show up every time, maybe you pin this to number 2 and it's always there. You could also then give another option, maybe give them a few more options like maybe the quick response time is a great one as well. So we put that one in number 2 as well, so it can at least swap between those, and that's going to allow Google to have a little more flexibility. But if you don't need to, don't pin them. So I'm going to just change them so there's no pins on here. Continue down. So now we have enough headlines. I would spend more time and I would add more headlines. There's even this button here to add more headlines after the fact. So continue adding as many as you can. Description. So we could add in a couple descriptions. Maybe we go with warm up with, let's go North End Furnace Solutions. I'll mention something as well. You can have an exclamation point as long as it's in a description and it's only a single one. You could have a question mark if it's in your headlines, but you can't have an exclamation mark and you can't go all capitalization for these. There's some rules that come with these. So just try to, you can have the first letter of each capitalized, and that's what I would normally suggest. But just make sure you're not trying something like having all caps in there or adding something else that really helps it stand out, because you'll probably get disapproved. And that's fine. If it does get disapproved, you just can fix it and move on. We could also talk about the quality. So quality furnace repair for your home, quick response times. Essentially, I'm really just scratching the surface on what you can do here, because I'm not spending a whole lot of time. One other thing that we will eventually do is make sure that we have something that matches this here. So if you put certain keywords in here, you want to have something similar in your ad copy. So I could have this in here. Maybe I'll put furnace repair near you. And I'm going to do this like this here, and this one here, and just capitalize those. Well, I should capitalize the first word. And there you go. And you can see that this ad strength goes up when I do that. We're going to add more keywords in later, so I'm not going to worry too much about this ad strength. But usually I like to have at least average, good, or excellent. So that's one area. So we did our headlines. Now we've done our descriptions. Now we come down here and we have business name and logos. You're probably not going to have access to this if you just started your account. But if you get verified, you can actually add your business name and logo in here. It's an added bonus that they have if you get verified. So that's something that you don't have to do. And it can be handy. It help you stand out a little bit more, but don't worry about it right now. Next is site links. So these are different links that show up. Let's see here. They're going to show up just below here. You're going to see site links show up, and they're going to link out to your website, different pages of your website. Unfortunately, I don't have any other pages on my website, but I'm going to do one anyway. So what I'll do is I'll take this same page. But if you have, say, an about page, or more likely even than an about page is different services. So if you have multiple services that you're offering, you could have a site link to each different service, and that's going to stand out and help your ad stand out to people. So you can add this in here. And actually, I'll just do this. There you go, North End Furnaces. That's fine. Let's go create. And we could do another one here because we need to have at least 2. And let's say furnace repair. It's probably not going to let me do it because it's the same URL. We'll try though. Yep, it let me do it. So there you go. So now we have 2, and it probably will show up here as a preview, maybe. Oh, there it is. Yep, North End Furnaces and furnace repair. So you can see that they're showing up here. Now we have this more assets, so click on that one. And we have different things like promotions. So if you're running a promotion, you can click into this. We can add in different promotions. So there's different holidays here we can use. If you don't have a specific holiday, you don't have to add anything in there. You can have a monetary discount if you have, say, if your product's for sale, percentage discounts, up to a certain percentage off, or up to a certain monetary discount. And all this can happen. You can have a URL that leads, say if there's a page that talks about this discount, you could put that in here, and then you'd have the item here. So whether it's a service or a product, you'd have that in there. And then you can add in more details here about your product. So maybe they need to have a promotion code, and you can select now dates that you want it to show up for. So these are display dates. You can also come in advanced settings and have it schedule certain times. I'm not going to do any of that right now, but that's just know that that's there. That's an option. Next here you have prices. So if you have certain products or certain services that have tiers, you can actually add that in here. See brands, events, locations. These are all the different options, product tiers, service tiers, services. So if you have different product services that are kind of a set price, there's different options here like per night, per year, per month, per week, all these different options that you can go through. So keep this in mind. It's not something that probably gets set up on all accounts, but you can certainly use it if it fits. Calls, this is an important one here. You can come in here, you type in your phone number and hit save, and now you have this. If you want to control what time your phone number actually shows up on your website, you can do that as well by going to advanced settings. And now I can set certain days. So if I want to only show up with my phone number certain times of the day, I can do that. And I could have it set from say Monday to Friday, and I could set the different dates, different times, depending on when our business is available. Lead forms is a tricky one to do. It's not something I would suggest you to do even if you are trying to get leads, because it doesn't allow you to, once you fill this out, it's not going to allow you to actually get those leads immediately. You'd have to check your ads every time. So I would suggest leaving the leads part to your website. Maybe I'll show you in the future how to do this, but there's a few more steps, and I use another program that helps notify me every time I get a lead. So it's not something you want to use right off the bat, but it's something you might be able to use in the future, and I'll try to put out a video on that. So for now, that's it. We can say done or next. Let's go next here. And now we're up to our budget. So Google suggests that we start with $276 per day. You don't need to start this high. You can select any budget you want, and Google is going to try to work within that budget. They're going to suggest this because of your location. So I'm picking Chicago and the type of keyword that I picked. This is what they're suggesting because they're saying, well, there's quite a bit of traffic for that. Let's get that traffic. And if you're okay with spending that much money, then you can click it. But I would suggest starting on the lower end and starting within your own budget, because you want to be able to do this in the long term. Google Ads is more of a long-term run rather than a sprint. So make sure that you select a budget that makes sense for you. So let's change this here. Let's go for, maybe we want to do $20 a day for now. We want to test the waters here. It's saying we'll get about 38 clicks. Whether we do or not, only time will tell. So we go next. Now it's checking for errors here. Just let it do its thing. If it comes up with an error, you might have to go back and fix it. If it comes up with a warning, don't worry about it for now. You can see what the warning is, but you're probably okay to publish. So in this case, it's warning us because it probably wants us to have it on an automated bidding strategy, but we're okay. Let's hit publish. And now we have a live campaign. Now, because I want to pause this for now, because I'm not ready to run this, so I'm going to suggest, if you want to as well, go ahead and pause this for now. And we're going to go over, if it doesn't show up here, you can go here to campaigns and click on, so campaigns here, campaigns, and then campaigns there. That's going to bring it up, and it's going to show up down here. If you don't see it there, what could be happening if you paused it? You have to, there's these two filters up here. If you drop them down, you can see that it's enabled and paused. That's what it's showing me right now. There's enabled and there's all. If you don't see it, you might be on enabled. So you want to do all or enabled and paused. That's going to allow you to see it down here. Same with this over here. You can also, this is your ad group, and I'll show you this in a second, but you can have it as all enabled or enabled and paused. Keep these in mind, and they're found campaigns, campaign, and then you can adjust them here. This is your campaign down here. You can see that we have the name that we selected, and you can change this name by hitting this pencil that comes up here. We can change to whatever we want. It doesn't affect the account at all. We can change our budget here. This is where our budget is kept. We can change it to whatever we want. Let's say we want to do $20.20. We can change it right there. We can see the status of our campaign. Right now it's paused. Bid strategy learning, which means that it's learning. It's an automated bidding strategy to a certain degree. It's all Maximus clicks, but it's learning where the clicks are and how much it should spend on each click. Then we have some more data over here, which we can adjust by, there's columns, and we can go into that. But we're not going to go into that right now. What I'm going to show you here is click on this, your campaign. And now we're going to click on this more details button up here. And we're going to go to settings. So there's edit settings in here, edit in settings. So click on that button. And now you have all the options we were talking about before. These are all the options we were turning on and off. So you'll see that they should look fairly familiar. There's goals. This is, we can leave alone. Account level goals is fine. We have our marketing objectives. So if you decide that, no, I hit the wrong one and I should be at leads, not sales, you can change it in here. You're going to have whether your campaign is paused. You can change that here if you want. The networks, remember we turn this off. You can turn it back on here. Display network, we can turn that back on if we want. We're going to leave them both off. Okay, and down here we have our locations again. And you can see that this is the location we selected. I'm going to fix this, but in a different area. So we can come down here. We can now see that we have presence instead of presence or interest. We have the presence one checked off, which is the one I would select. We can have our languages selected. If you want to have a different language, you want to add some more languages in here, you could do that. Budgets in here as well. Maximize clicks is one that I'm suggesting that we change. We can keep it on maximize clicks, which is fine. And that's going to get the most amount of clicks possible for your budget. But if you want full control over your Google Ads, you can come change bid strategy here. And you can go or select a bid and strategy directly not recommended. Click this one. It's scary, but I know. But you can click on it and then click on this here to change it. So it's at maximize clicks. These are all the bidding strategies. These are all the ones that you have available to you. This is showing you kind of the back end of what's available. The other one was kind of a Google Ads help version of this. This is the technical version showing you what they all are. So maximize clicks is what we had selected. There's maximize conversions if you had conversions that are properly. Maximize conversion value if you're e-commerce and you're tracking values. We won't even talk about target impression share. That's another one that we can use, but manual CPC is one that I would suggest going with. So let's select manual CPC and then hit save. And I'll show you how to set this up so you have full control with your manual bidding. It's not as scary as it sounds. And that's it. That's all we want to change in here. Everything else should be good. We don't need to adjust anything in the advanced settings. You can come from settings over to campaigns again. And now you'll see your campaign here. It's now on manual bidding. So what we do with manual bidding is we're going to click into our campaign. And this is our ad group. This is what contains our ad copy and it contains our keywords. So let's name it something that we want. So let's say furnace repair. Furnace repair. And the reason I'm naming it that is because I have keywords that are related to that. So I click into it and I can see that this is my keyword, furnace repair near me. Now we could click on this big plus sign. I should slow down a bit there, but there's a big plus sign up here. Click on that. And now you can see that there's more options, more suggestions up here. So we might go through this list and pick some more. So we could have heating repair, air repair near me. That sounds like a good one. Furnace tune-up near me, heater repair near me. So we grab a few of these and keep in mind that these don't have quotes on them, which is okay. Let's just save them like this for now. I'll show you what we do with them. And you can see that these turned up as broad match. This one's a phrase match. These turned broad match. We can come through these now and just select phrase match, and phrase match. And now we're using phrase match instead of broad match. If you see something that says low search volume on here, likely it's not going to run. I would probably get rid of it. And the way to get rid of a keyword is by coming over here and you can hit remove or pause. But for now, we now have a few keywords. They look like they will run as soon as we unpause our campaign. We have this. These are the keywords attached to our ad group. We can also see the ads that are attached to our ad group. By clicking up here on ads, we can now see the ads. So this is the ad that's in that ad group and it's associated. So we can now edit it by hovering over it and hitting this edit button here, which is the pencil. And we can come through here and add some information. We can change the URL if we had the wrong URL or we updated our website. We can now come through here and add some more keywords. Say for example, we added some, or sorry, not keywords, headlines. Say for example, we added some more keywords in there. We can see them up here now. And maybe we want to have heating repair like this here. We could grab that one and let's paste that in. So, and I'm going to go near you if it lets me. Oh, it's too long. But I might go like this, Chicago. Essentially that is the same kind of meaning, but just to help it, Google to kind of match up our keywords with our ad copy And then, like I said, it should match up to your website somehow to a certain degree. It doesn't have to be exact, but your website's obviously going to be about furnace repair in this case. So it's going to match up. So then I hit save and perfect. Now we've updated our ad copy. Always remember, if you want to get back to where you started, campaigns, campaign. That'll get you back. It's campaign, campaign, campaign. That gets you back to your campaign. Then in your campaign is your ad group. Now it's furnace repair. We've renamed it. We can add more of these if we want, but you can start out by just having one. It's probably the simplest way to get going. Just have a single ad group, and that'll do you just fine for quite a while until you're used to this. So here's another little area that we could look at to help improve our campaigns. This is something we added when we were going through our setup. It's under assets. So this is, again, if you go into campaigns up here, you go down to assets, drop that down, and there's assets right here. Click on that. And now you have all these options here. So you have your business name, your business logo. Again, we can't add a business name until we're verified. Business logo, same thing. But we can add in our site links. So we can add some more site links. If you have more site links you want to add, we can add them here. We have headlines. We wouldn't add the headlines here. We go into our ad to add headlines. Description, same thing, but we have callouts here as well. And we have structured snippets. Again, a lot of this can be done right in your ad as well. Keep that in mind. There's calls, so we can add our call extension here, or our call asset as they now call it. They used to call it call extensions. It's a throwback to before in Google Ads. We have locations in here too. So if you have a business account, you can actually link this to a business account, and maybe I'll make a quick how-to video on that in the future. But for now, I don't have that video out, but if I do, I'll link it to this part in the video. And we have price here. I talked about price before, but you can add that in here. Apps, if you're advertising apps, and promotions. So if you have a promotion running, you can add that in here. So this is where you find all those extra assets. And adding these extra assets is important to do because it just helps your ad stand out. It helps to ensure that your ad takes up more real estate when it's showing up on Google search. We can now change our location because that was one thing that we didn't have set properly. So let's go and adjust our locations. So you're going to find this under audience, keywords, and content. I don't know why location's in there, but that's where it is. So locations right here. And now you can see that we have this map and we can see Chicago here. So it's kind of a nicer representation of the location. We can hit this pencil button here. And now we can edit our location, and we can actually do this with a lot more targeting now. So we can get rid of Chicago. Let's say we're not actually Chicago. Let's use an address here. So I've selected an address. It's actually McDonald's in Chicago, but that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to use a radius. So I'm going to click on radius here, and I'm going to say 20 miles around this address here. So I paste in this address, and I can say target. And now you can see that we're doing 20 miles around this Chicago McDonald's. And I can now add another one. I could say, okay, well, maybe actually I want to do 100 miles as well. And let's add that in. So we can target. So we can have a target within a target. Keep in mind that it's a little more advanced once you get it multiple targets. But if I would suggest from starting out, pick the radius you want to go for or the locations. So you could also select different locations. And if you hold control, you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in here, and we can go over here to locations now. So we could go Chicago, and we could also come up here and say nearby, and now it's going to give us these different areas that we can actually target. So we could go here, target this one, target this one, target this one. Obviously, if you're from that area, you're going to know what areas you're targeting, but now you can see that, okay, we're targeting these areas here. You can target all the way down to a postal code or a zip code. It gets pretty narrow. But I wouldn't suggest going crazy with this. I like doing a radius. If you have a physical business, a radius is great, but there's also location exclusions, which we haven't touched on yet. So if you are, say for example, a lot of people are selling throughout the United States. The two places that are included in that are Hawaii and Alaska. So if you are targeting those locations, you might want to add Hawaii in here because maybe shipping is too expensive for Hawaii. Alaska might be the same thing. So maybe you don't want to ship to either of those places. You can now exclude it. So you could have all the United States selected and then exclude these two locations. So I come in here, I go locations, and let's just say we are not a local business anymore. we are international, or not international, but we are national. So let's go United States, target, and save that. And now if I look at my map, you can see that this is excluded. That exclusion, even though we're targeting that location, the exclusion is going to make sure that it's not showing up. Same with Hawaii, it's excluded now. You'll see the little red dots on it. The red location, that means it's excluded. You can do that with any states, any locations you want. The same way you do, same way you target a location, you can also exclude them right here. Now we also have available to us our ad schedules again. You can see it's here. Right now it's wide open, but if we want to change the times, we could go here to, let's just pick a time here. Let's say 6 in the morning. And let's say we end at around 6. So it's 6 to 6, and let's say save. Now you'll see that all of a sudden my little graph here is a lot shorter, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can go ahead and change every day in there, and you'll start to see data on those. So it's handy if you don't want to show up after hours. So let's go back into our campaign here. Since we're on manual bidding, what I'm going to get you to do is come into our campaign. Again, campaign, and we're going to click on our campaign here. And because we're on manual bidding, we have one more step. If you don't see this here, default max CPC, it's probably because we just changed it. Hit the refresh button on your browser and let it refresh once and come back to this. It'll be there. And right now it's set as 1 penny. So we want to adjust this. So we want to, 1 penny is not going to be high enough. We're going to make kind of an educated guess here. And let's say maybe our bids are going to be $1. Maybe they're going to be $2. We're going to hit save, and you might have to hit save twice. And then now we are bidding $1 on every keyword that's in this ad group. Let's say that in 3 days time, we have 0 clicks. You can see them over here. We had 0 clicks and maybe we had only 5 impressions, something like that. What we want to do is we want to get more traffic. So let's increase our bids. So it might mean we're bidding too low. So we now set it up to $2. Wait a few days, maybe a day this time. The first time you're going to have to probably wait a few days because Google takes a little bit to get going. But after that, you should only have to wait maybe a day or two. And then you can adjust this. If you're not getting enough traffic, increase your bid again. Oops, I just decreased my bid to 30 cents. But increase your bid. It doesn't have to be at complete dollar. You could do 50 cents. So it could be $3.50 now. Next bid could be $3.50. You can adjust this, but continue to increase this day after day or after every couple days, and until you start getting the amount of traffic you want to get. And that's going to allow you to essentially get more and more traffic. So once you're ready to run this, you're going to come over here and you're going to make sure this says enabled. So you want to come in here and make sure that this is enabled. I'm not going to do it with mine right now because it's not a real campaign. I don't want it to actually start running. And then in here, ad groups, you're going to come in here and you're going to also make sure that this is a green dot and that is enabled. You can click on it, make sure it's on enabled. That's going to allow your campaign to start running with the keywords that you selected. Now, the other thing you want to watch for once this is running is you want to keep an eye on what kind of searches you're getting, because this is what people are actually searching for. So in order to see the search terms, what you're going to do is go under Insights and Reports, and there's this button here, Search Terms. This is where the search terms are going to show up. Okay, because I don't have any search terms to show you in that other account, I'm going to show you in this account. This is an old account that I have access to. So these are what the search terms will show. This is what you'll start to see. You'll see search terms here, and then you can see all this information over here, clicks, cost, all this other information that you want to see. But keep an eye on what kind of search terms you're seeing. So if we sort by clicks or by cost, let's go by clicks here, and we should start to see the ones that we're getting the most amount of clicks. Also, make sure your date period is correct. So let's say we kind of watch the last 7 days. In this case, I can't do that because I haven't ran this campaign in 7 days. So, but if you're running your campaign, you'll see the last 7 days. You might see some data coming in. So you'll start to see some searches. So you're going to watch these search terms and make sure that they are what you want to see. If you see stuff that you don't want to include, you can click on it. So let's say we don't want to show up on Milkbee stroller. So we click on this here and we can add as a negative keyword. So we're going to just add this directly to the campaign. I usually do the campaign level here if I have a simple setup like we're doing right now. Then what I would do here is maybe we don't want to show up on Milkbee. So I'd get rid of the word stroller and I'd keep the word Milkbee. And I could get rid of that as a broad match. Now, anytime Milkbee shows up anywhere, I'm never going to show up for that again. So this might be a competitor's name, something like that. You could get rid of that here. So you could have, maybe it's a furnace company that's nearby that you don't want to show up for their ad or their keywords. You can get rid of it here because Google's going to show you for other keywords. It's not going to be exactly what you selected. Google's going to expand and try to bring in stuff that's kind of similar, but maybe they don't hit the mark perfectly. So now you've added negative keywords to help guide it. You can also, if I come in here, so we'll cancel this for a second. You can also do it as an exact. This is the safest way. If you don't want to show up for that term, you can just keep these brackets on it and you can do an exact negative keyword. I have a whole tutorial on negative keywords. If you want to watch it, it goes into what exactly are negative keywords and what are the different match types that you can use. So I'll leave that link up in the top corner there. Make sure you check that one out if you're not familiar on how to use negative keywords. So as you're running your campaigns, that's going to be your goal, is to make sure that the search terms are what you want to show up for. If they're not, or if they're really wild, like they're all over the map and you don't like them at all, then you're going to want to go look at your keywords again and make sure you're using either phrase or exact match. If you're using broad, this is probably the reason why they're just all over the place. So again, to find those, you come in here to your audience keywords and content, search keywords, and now you can see your keywords. So if you're getting stuff that's showing up that's just wild, you can look through this and you can try to find out which ones have the right keywords that you want to keep. So you can click on this here and you can click on search terms right here. So I can look at the exact search terms for this keyword and hit search terms. Let's say this one here, heating and air repair near me, keeps bringing stuff that we don't want to show up for. And I hit search terms, I can look and I say, yeah, none of that is what we want. You can either pause that keyword, prevent it from showing at all, or change its match type. So you could make it an exact match or phrase match if you already have it on broad match. But usually when I see just all kinds of wild search terms coming through, it's either because someone let Google pick their keywords or they're using broad. So make sure you select your keywords, be selective, don't go crazy, and pick the keywords that you think would be well suited to your business. Near me is a great one for local businesses, but you might have also like Chicago would be a great one as well if it's a local business. If you're e-commerce, it's kind of a different beast, but the same idea applies. But ultimately, the whole goal of everything we are doing here is to get better quality search terms coming in. That's what people are typing. And we want to make sure our ad makes sense to those people and it's bringing in the right customers into our website. That's our entire goal here. And if we can track that with conversion tracking, that's something else that we can do. But I'm not talking about that in this video because it does get kind of complicated and it's different for every website. But we can do this without ever touching conversions if we have quality traffic coming in. And that's where search terms comes in. That's where picking the right keywords comes in and having the right ad copy that brings someone to your website. All this works together to bring in better quality traffic and potential customers for you. So if this sounds a bit overwhelming, feel free to reach out to us at focusyourads.com. We'd be happy to see if we're the right fit for you. Take care and see you in the next video.